Hello and good morning, everyone, and welcome to this URBACT webinar on social data. My name is Margit Thünemann. I'm from the URBACT Secretariat, and I'm happy to welcome you here today to this webinar. A quick word about URBACT. URBACT is a European funding program for cities. We're promoting sustainable urban development through cooperation projects, which means we're funding cities' networks and capacity building and knowledge sharing activities, such as this one, a webinar where we work across networks in a so-called knowledge hub. And this is the knowledge hub on social data management. We gathered 4 networks that work together on this topic. We have One Health for Cities, we have Cities at Heart, we have URBACT and the Next Gen Youth Network, who work together on the topic of management of social data. They have a conceptualized webinar series of four webinars to dig a bit deeper into the topic and to find out how cities are actually collecting, analyzing, and managing data. And their basic idea is to draw on the local experience that they have, on the knowledge that they gathered in their networking experience, and to come up with a guidebook for cities that we would like to present at the URBACT City Festival at the end of March, beginning April this year. It's taking place in Cyprus. There are still a few spots if you want to still join. And we would be very happy to work with you together today in the webinar number 3 to get some further knowledge and insight on this topic. So today, as I said, we are on webinar number 3. We will look into how cities actually interact and draft social policies with data. Before, I would just give you a little recap on what we did in the last 2 webinars. We started with having a look at the needs and the challenges of cities with turning social data into policy. We gave a little overview and looked about what social data do we actually have and what is it actually social data? Why do they matter? What sources do we have for social data? And what are the main challenges of data for social policies especially? And we were looking at case studies from Bologna, Granada, and Sligo. Last week, we had the second webinar, and we were looking a bit more specifically into how cities collect and manage data for social policies. So we looked at different tools and methods. We were looking how and especially who is collecting and analyzing the data in cities, what we should measure and how to report about it. And we looked at a couple of challenges, the data in silos, but also at solutions, like what is a good data governance to overcome these challenges. We did that together with cities with the cities Kuopio in Finland, Villanova de Famalicão, and Lyon. And today, in this webinar, the 3rd one in the series, we want to look a bit deeper into how cities interact with the partners and draft social policies with data. We will have an introduction from Zsolt Zera. He is the lead expert of our Next Gen Youth Network in URBACT. And we will then have 2 contributions from cities from Oulu, Mark Tiosanen, who is going to join us from the Next Gen Youth Network. And we have the city of Heerlen, which is a former URBACT city and is now working with EUI on a project, the Pulse Twin project, to implement what they have learned from the past. We have Tom Bindels with us and Bram Wetzels from the city of Heerlen in the Netherlands. After the case studies, we will have a short question and answer session so that you can also ask questions, and with a few final remarks, we will end this webinar. Some practicalities. We plan to stop at 11:30. We are recording this webinar so that you know. We will also share the video afterwards on the dedicated webpage, and of course also the slides so that you have all the information and links that we present today. For questions, please keep them for you and share them in the chat. We will use the chat function of Zoom, and we will have this little question and answer session at the very end after the case studies so that we can answer to them in one block. And hopefully you stay until the end and give us a very short feedback about your thoughts of the webinar, whether it was helpful for you or not. We would also like to use UClub in this webinar to have a bit of interaction in between. You can connect to UClub through the website with the event code, or you can scan the QR code with your mobile phone. That's maybe the easiest option, and try to connect. It would be very helpful if you try this already now, because then we can see a bit how many are there. And we also will start with a little poll. So please try to connect to this QR code, because I will give the floor briefly to Jolt, who will present us a first question for you.
Yes, good morning. The first question is related to your city's data personality. So imagine that the way your city uses data is just like a person who has a personality. And what would you compare it to? Would you say that it's like a librarian who is very organized, but yeah, rarely consulted, as the librarians are often? Or maybe it is a firefighter when you use data only when something is really on fire. Is it a detective who is trying to find clues across different services and across different departments? Or maybe it is a coach who helps you to improve from day to day? Or maybe it's a magician who is doing a lot of unexplainable tricks that no one understands and no one can explain, but yeah, it is promising a lot. So imagine the way that the city and the data in your city behave and how they relate to your work, and choose the one which you feel is the most appropriate today.
Okay, so these are the different types, and we will do that, as I mentioned, with WooClub. Once more, the code. So maybe now it's really interesting for you to join. I will leave the code still a bit because I see we don't have that many connections yet. It would be great if you could scan the QR code or join via the WooClub site so that we can have a brief view on what type of city you are. Still waiting for a second for people to join. We have around 90 participants, but I only see around a third at the moment. So people are still coming. Always takes a while. I just go back once more to the different types, because we will show it in a second on WooClub. So who are you? A librarian, firefighter, detective, coach, or the magician? Once more the code. Please join. There will be one more session a bit later, so it's really worth joining. Okay. So let's try. Who are you? What do you think, Jolt?
Yeah, I see that the firefighter is is the most common. And then comes the detective and the librarian. I was kind of hoping that the coach would get a much better result because basically that's the purpose of using data. But at the same time, I'm glad that the magician didn't get so many votes. Yeah, I guess, yeah, we don't have so many answers yet. Yeah, we have only 20 out of 34, so maybe it will change a little bit. Let's see, we have 21 out of 34.
Yeah, I display once more the QR code because I see in the chat that some people apparently did not manage yet. So maybe I was too quick or too slow in moving the slides. I'm sorry for that. Okay. So a few more votes. The firefighter.
Yeah.
It stays there, Jod.
Yeah, it
We
looked
take
like
it
it.
from there.
Okay, all right.
Okay, thank you very much. And having that poll as a little starter, I hand over to you, Jolt, to give us first the introduction
Yes.
on the topic of today.
Thank you very much. And I will share my screen. And yeah, you should still see, or you should see again now. No, you shouldn't. Now you should see my screen and again the previous file or the previous slide.
Yes, it works.
Okay. Okay, so let's start with my presentation. When um, what I wanted to say is that Margit has already mentioned, but in the first webinar, which was hosted by MR, you were looking mostly on social data needs and challenges. That was 2 weeks ago. And a week ago, Sophia presented how to collect and manage data for social policies. And today I'd like to talk a little bit more about how to work with data and how to draft social policies based on data. And after my presentation, you will listen to Olu and Helen, who will present their case studies, which I think will shed light on the concept that I will shortly present. And I'm also referring back to the second webinar, that of Sophia, when she mentioned in one of her slides a very nice sentence saying that cities are data rich, but policies are often data poor. And it's a very nice starting point for today's presentation. Because I would reframe a little bit this statement. Indeed, we collect a lot of data. I mean, we as cities, and indeed, the policies are very often data poor. But that's primarily not because of the lack of data. I think that the problem is how we use data. It's not a problem related to technology. It's not that we lack knowledge or skills to acquire or interpret data. It is much more related to the organizational structure that we use, to the organizational culture in which we work, and simply to the way we work with the data. And if we want to make an impact on our cities, then I think we have to change the work, to change the way we work in general, and the way we work with data. Again, going back to the presentation of Mark 2 weeks ago, she showed on many slides how many data sources a city might have, and yeah, you can have a lot of municipal, administrative, and service delivery related data. You see here some examples. You can have practice-based data from the services that you are running. You can have citizen input and data from participatory processes like surveys and panels and micro surveys at points of service and so on. You can use statistics. You can use statistics at the local level, at the regional level, national level, European level, whatever. So you have access to statistics. And you can also use a lot of, you can use data from a lot of other sources like spatial and place-based data, which are more and more accessible, open data ecosystems. You can use, of course, research, working with the university or a knowledge provider. And you also have these kind of newer sources coming from social media and smartphones and so on. So we have a lot of data sources. And also based on this data, we create a lot of indicators. If we look only at youth work, we can find, or we can define a lot of indicators related to service delivery, to participation and reach, to engagement and progression and referrals and so on. We can collect quality and user feedback data, and yeah, we can look at safety and incidents related data and so on. And this is only some of all the indicators that you can use in the field of youth work. If you look at maybe the well-being of the elderly, again, you have data related to service delivery, you have data related to independence and daily living. You see here some examples. You can have data related to loneliness and participation in different programs and services, and also related to safety and safeguarding and so on. So basically, we have a lot of indicators. So I think that I was trying to make a point here that it's not the lack of data and the lack of indicators that is hindering to have data-rich policies. And I think that the problem is rather the way that we work with data and how we use them within our structure, within our organization. And I'm trying to show you a model which I think is the most commonly used model, how we work with data in a municipality. And yeah, what do? We start collecting data, and then, of course, we aggregate them, and then we publish them, and then we discuss them, and then finally a decision is made. And yeah, as a feedback, at a certain point, there will be some change implemented, hopefully. But the point is that as you are passing from one level to the other, time passes, time goes on, weeks or months have passed, and by the time there is a decision, yeah, it might happen that you are using the data in your decision, which was taken half a year ago or 1 year ago. So that's not really good. This is a very static model. But I also see in some organizations that there is another way of working with data, where collecting data and working with data is really embedded in the organization, and not in such a way as you are passing from one level of the organization to the other, to the upper level, but it is really embedded in the way teams and frontline workers use them. In that system, in that model, that data is collected, then data is discussed, monitored, interpreted. Then there is a decision made based on that. Then a change is implemented, or an adjustment is implemented. Then, as this is going forward, it is checked, it is monitored, and jumping back, and then this might lead to an adaptation of the policy, and then this whole circle is closed. So the static model has a very, and this is what I call the embedded model. And the static model is a very linear model, yeah, you plan, implement, evaluate, and so on. But this feedback loop, which we have in the embedded model, provides a kind of circular logic of the way that we are working with data, and collecting data, learning from them, making decision happens almost simultaneously. daily or weekly levels, so very, very often. Um, and this allows cities to adapt much faster to what is happening in that social field. Basically, to make a comparison or to use a metaphor, I would say that the static model is like when you are driving your car and you are trying to find out and trying to navigate based only at looking at the rear view mirror, trying to find out where you're heading, looking at what is behind you. In this embedded model, it's like you are using a GPS basically. So you look at your dashboard, you check your speed, you're checking your heading, the way you are going to, and you navigate using them. And you ask yourself, where are we going? Do we have to turn right here, or shall I go forward? It's actually looking forward, looking towards the future, the way that you are navigating. And that's a very nice metaphor because very often frontline teams really use dashboards and they are asking what is changing right now and what should we do next. So this embedded model, I think it's very useful because it creates this feedback loop that we sense what's happening and we can act, check, and adapt very quickly. If we compare them, the static model is much more about showing results, and the embedded model is about improving decisions. The outputs of this static model are monthly or quarterly reports. The outputs of the embedded one are dashboards, alerts, and briefs, and so on. In the static model, you use data periodically. In the best case monthly, but very often at a much at a longer cadence. And in the embedded model, you use it continuously. The users of the static model are primarily the senior management and the politicians. In the embedded model, the frontline teams use mostly these data. The static model feeds a kind of separate reporting space like a BI portal or whatever. In the embedded model, the data is feeding the inside workflows, the management of the different cases, the scheduling and the planning of activities, and so on. You see that the questions which are answered by the static model are what happened, looking in the back, looking behind in the past. In the embedded model is much more looking at what is changing right now and what should we do next. If you use this static model, then the actions are decided much later. In the embedded model, the actions might come in a very short time. In the static model, the learning is happening very slowly and it is limited. While in the embedded model, you create a very strong regular routine of learning and doing that by testing, learning, adjusting your activities. The risks, you can see them here. The static model is what I mentioned, having this rear view mirror and having a kind of low trust towards data. Actually, the poll that we did shows that, yeah, you are looking at data as a kind of firefighter, not as a coach. But also embedded models also have their own risks, like a kind of tendency to overreact to noise. It can raise privacy risks. It can create a kind of alert fatigue and so on. We will see that a little bit later. If we go back, yeah, again to see these two models. So these are the two ones. And now let's look a little bit better at the embedded model and what it enables. And again, you see here that you collect data from different services, from citizen inputs, from whatever sources you have. Then you are trying to sense and understand what is happening, collecting insights, what is changing in the field that I'm working. Then you agree on priorities, thresholds, you adjust your services based on that. Then you are monitoring the effect that you have. And then you make this change, this decision whether you keep that policy, change it, or stop it, whatever the outcome might be. And then this feedback loop is closing or starting again and again on even on a weekly basis, even on a daily basis, whatever your field is or whatever your preferences are. And what does this feedback loop, this policy feedback loop enable? It enables faster response, better targeting of your services, of your activities. It helps you in prevention. It helps you be more efficient, resource efficient. It allows for learning for your organization, for your frontline team, and it also helps you to do equity checks to see whether that is indeed what you want to do for the money that for the funds that you have. So let's look now at these advantages that policy feedback loop enables. And here I try to explain them and write them down a little bit. I'm not going to read them all because that's not the point. But what I tried here to explain what is that advantage, what are you gaining from this thing, what is changing, what are the tools that you can use. Then I show you some examples here from different fields, and then finally a short summary of what you are gaining basically by this policy feedback loop. And yeah, the first benefit that I would mention is the faster response, which means that the time between the real world change and the concrete adjustment or change in delivery is much shorter. In a traditional policy or in a traditional way of dealing with data, you will see that if you have in a neighborhood, let's see, a kind of spike in youth crime or homelessness or whatever problems, it might take months for that signal to reach the level of the decision makers. With embedded data, you can shorten that to a few days. If you see in the case of a youth center a drop in attendance, then you can adjust the hours immediately, or you can organize some outreach and so on. So that's about the faster response. Secondly, what feedback loop enables is better targeting. You move away from this one-size-fits-all programs, and you can be much more precise in what you are delivering. If you see that, if you analyze your neighborhood level data, and you can see exactly where, or you can see much better where the gaps are in your service delivery. And yeah, if we look maybe at a citywide employment program, you might find that one specific neighborhood needs childcare support or needs other kind of help to raise the numbers of employment. Then if you identify a rise in the loneliness of the elderly in one area of the city, then you can deploy outreach there to work more and to engage the elderly in another way. So it is about providing a kind of precision support, to move towards a precision support from very general, very broad, and often not very effective programs. What the policy feedback loop also enables is prevention, which means that you are spotting early signals and you are intervening before problems get more serious, or before problems change into situations which are much harder and much costlier to resolve. These early data signals, which can be like, I don't know, missed rents or school absence, can uncover issues which can be treated later and can become a kind of crisis. So providing help early is easier and it's far less costly than managing emergencies after the facts, after some damage is done. Another thing another benefit of this policy feedback loop is the resource efficiency. Cities have limited budget, have limited staff, but that data helps you to spend time and spend budget where it has the greatest impact on outcomes. For example, if data shows that a certain urban safety patrol is most effective in a specific hotspot at, I don't know, at 8 p.m., then you move your resources there rather than keeping a fixed, not very efficient schedule. The same with youth work. If you see that a certain program or service is more effective at a certain time, then you adjust your service to it. The next benefit of this policy feedback loop is learning and learning with accountability, because you are linking your decisions to the evidence that you have, and you are checking immediately whether the actions delivered the intended result. It means that it changes basically how you are working or what accountability means, because accountability shouldn't be just about did we spend the money, but did the action work? Did we achieve the results that we wanted or the impact that we wanted? And if you are linking your actions with evidence, then you create a kind of evidence trail, kind of learning in your process. Let's say that, for example, if you are trying a new pilot program in one of your neighborhoods, and if it works, and then you expand it because you reached more people and you engaged, you involved more people into that, yeah, also if you see that something is not working, then or it didn't improve things, then you wouldn't call it a failure. You would use it as an insight to redesign your service. So that's creating a kind of evidence and the kind of constant learning that you and the frontline workers in your team might need. And finally, it also helps with equity checks. So you can see much more easily who benefits from your actions, who is missed, or whether you unintentionally widen the gaps among citizens and among the services that they can reach. If, let's say, if employment rates in your city in general are rising, and then they are staying quite flat for a certain neighborhood or for a certain minority group, then you can you will sense that because data will show that to you, and you can plan actions which are trying to make up for that or to correct that. So you can check constantly whether you are creating inequalities or not. So these are the main benefits of using this kind of policy feedback loop, which I saw in so many cities and in so many fields working. So I think it's quite it can be quite useful for cities. And also there are some tensions or some dilemmas that come with this policy feedback loop, which the one of them, which I will try to sum up shortly. The one or one of these is speed versus reflection. You can react much faster if you are constantly checking data and working with data, and you have to be careful because there might be weak signals, and you don't want to overact on that. but also you want to spend time analyzing data, but you don't want to spend too much data analyzing, because then you will be paralyzed. Also you have to be careful, or you have to be aware that if you are using dashboards and you are looking at actual data, you always have to have historical data in mind to see what has happened and what is the situation right now. So the situation right now is always needs to be put in a historical context also. So that's a balance that you have to achieve. Then the other one is standardization versus the local context. You need comparable data across the city, and you also want comparable data with other cities. But you also have to be aware of the local context, because the local context always matters. So it is here you have to balance between sharing data and sharing frameworks, and also understanding and analyzing and interpreting things at the local level. So that can be difficult at certain moments. And another thing which is very, very important is this monitoring versus trust thing, because if you want data to support you, you shouldn't use it to control people and to control the teams, the frontline teams that you are working with. So in order to be authentic and in order to be trustful, these data, you should never use them punitively. They should always be for helping frontline workers to learn and to go on in their work. Okay, so the point that I want to make is that data becomes powerful when it connects frontline practice with governance, and when learning is continuous rather than episodic. Yeah. Contact frontline practice, contact frontline workers with your governance and learning. Make them, the frontline practices, govern these processes and working with data. And what this means for cities, or what I see that is working, is that you want to start small. You don't have to try to build a massive system at once. Start small, start with what is working, test it, then adapt it. Then focus on use, not volume. So it's much better to have 10 data or 10 data points or 10 indicators you actually use than 1,000 that you have, but you ignore them because you are not learning from them. Focus on what is important and what you can actually use. For that, in order to reach that, you have to design data with practitioners, because if they are not using the data, if they don't find the data useful, then the system will fail, because they won't be interested in it. So what's the point in doing that at all? And the fourth learning point here is that you always have to treat policies as evolving systems. Policy is never finished. It is always a kind of prototype that should constantly improved by the data we gather and by the way we are learning. So that's what I wanted to highlight here, and the word back to Margit.
Yes, thank you very much, Jolt, for this rich overview. And I think it's a very good complement to what we saw already in the past two webinars. So thank you very much for this. And before we hand over to our case studies to the cities, we just wanted to quickly check once more with a little poll what you learned from Jolt right now. So we will go once more to WooClap. I show the QR code once more so that you can join. Hopefully there's some more participants still joining us on WooClub. then we have a bit a better overview of your feedback. There's still some people joining, so thanks a lot. I leave the QR code for another couple of seconds. I hope it works. And yeah, Jolt has a couple of questions that he wanted to ask you.
Yes, exactly. So the first question is how are social data used mostly to inform decisions in your city? And you have here four options. The first one is mostly for periodic reporting, like monthly, quarterly, annually, hopefully not more area than that. Then it used sometimes, but mainly in specific projects or pilots. The third answer is that you use regularly in team or service management meetings to adjust delivery of your service. And the fourth one is that you are using them in near real time or real time to trigger actions, set thresholds, alerts, and so on. And we have 19 answers out of 47, and that means that 27 are still thinking and trying to find the best answer, the best suiting answer.
But I think it gives quite a clear picture already.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have 90% who are saying that they are using it mostly for periodic reporting and or sometimes mainly in specific projects or pilots. And I see two answers saying that they use them regularly in team management meetings. I hope one of them is Oulu, or I guess one of them is Oulu because they will show soon how they use data. Okay, so we have, shall we stop it at now or shall we
Yeah.
give some time? Okay, so we have 26 answers of 47. Okay,
I
then
show
the
once
next,
more the QR code
yes,
for the ones who still want to join. And then we have another question
yes. And I
from
think it's
you.
going to be an interesting question because we see that, or we saw that data was used mostly in periodic reporting or used sometimes. And now the second question is, yes, exactly. And the second question is, or the follow-up question is, what do you think is the biggest barrier to move from the static model or from a static model to an embedded model in your context, in the field that you are working within the municipality? And the options are related to data sharing, privacy and legal constraints and so on. The second one is the governance, unclear roles, the lack of mandate, no rights to, or the decision rights are not proper for that. The third one is capacity, which can be time or skills to interpret and use data. The fourth one is tools and IT systems. And the fifth one is the lack of trust, culture, the fear of surveillance, and so on. And I see that governance is one of the main barriers, but capacity is also coming up. But yeah, I would say that these are by 95% or 90% the most common barriers.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you. Then we have one last question from you, Jolt, and then we hand over to the city.
yes. And the third question is related to a little bit to your work and hopefully to your work. The question is, if you could introduce one small policy feedback loop in the next 3 months, where would you start? And here we try to list some policy areas, social policy areas, but you can also name other ones, then choose the ninth answer, and also, if possible, specify in chat and explain why you chose that or what is that certain field. And I see that we have housing and homelessness rising or leading actually, and health, mental health, well-being in general, and education being in the second, third place, and migration and integration on the fourth. Yeah, I think that the way you work or the way you work with data can be changed in whatever field you are. So I think it is not something that can be used only in one field and in the other field it's not working. So you can implement that. We've seen examples for that, I guess, in all fields. And I also kind of hope that you are using more like this data embedded in your in the way you are working in this embedded model, but maybe you are not thinking of or you haven't recognized yet. Yeah, yeah, actually, that's what we do because sometimes um, it might happen that you learn about something new or you see something in a new light and you say, "Wow, that's interesting." And then you realize, oh, yeah, okay, but I actually do that. It's just that I haven't realized yet. So yeah, housing is still on the first in the first place, health in the second with 25 and 20%. And then we have education with almost 15 and youth work, community, migration with 10% mentions. Okay, thank you very much. And I guess these were the three polls. And now let's go to the case studies. The first case study will be that of Oulu. I have here Marko Tyussonen, who is, as far as I know, service manager, right, at the youth department of Oulu municipality. Oulu is in Finland, and really it's a pioneer in so many activities related to digital to the digital transition, and also have a wonderful youth work department doing so many activities. And they developed an application. What is it? Which is perfect for monitoring youth work activities in near real time, I would say, and they are continuously adjusting their policies and services based on that evidence. So Marco will will show us how what that software application looks, how they are using it to adjust their policies. And also it is very important that they use it as a very strong, very powerful tool to learn within their teams and also to learn from other municipalities. And this was really mind-blowing for me. And the second case study comes from Herlen, a city I love so much. They were involved in an URBACT action planning network in SIPDev, which is about social impact bonds, and I was the lead expert of that network. And based on the things that they learned, actually, in a good practice they learned from a Danish city, from Aarhus, they initiated an Interreg Europe project called CitySES, with 4 cities joining from the URBACT network into that Interreg Europe project, which was focusing on a certain neighborhood within Herlen. And then they took all this to a further step by applying successfully for an EUI project. And that's what we are going to learn about this Pulse Twin, which is trying to use a very advanced data integration and artificial intelligence to support their approach and to improve frontline decision making. So these are the good practices that we are going to listen to. And now the word goes to Marco, right?
Okay, greetings from Oulu, the European culture capital of this year. So I have to mention that. Let's see if I can share my screen. Okay. I don't think I have permission to share whole screen, but maybe I'll just check if I can share this web browser window. Is it sharing working or?
Yes, it's working.
Yeah. Okay. There's I have to say a few words. There's a crossover for the last seminar because of course, we need to collect data that we can use it. So here is our web application is part of that, our social management, but it's also measuring and reporting is the base of there. And also we have included some quality assurance in also building in this system. So when we start to build this, the main focus was that we would like to have something especially for youth work. We have a lot of data sources, like so that cities have a different kind of data sources. We try to help ourselves and build in some main things that we needed. So we built in a web application. As you can see, there is normal filtering options like you have maybe used, or everyone have used those, and know that you can choose timelines when things are happening, different filtering, what kind of units and that kind of things, what kind of activities. But we also make some help for ourselves, that we have some built-in filters also, that we can choose what kind of age groups we participants are, gender, role, if they are organizing, if young people are organizing activities or taking part of. That's also a important thing if we try to raise the youth participation present. How often they are participant, when they are participating in our actions, and that kind of things. I show something that now there is Oulu, but of course you can choose different units and go the lower level if you want. But now I show the example data what we have in basics. So we have info of how many participants we have, how many activities we have organized. We have now here the last year, how many hours we have different kind of activities, and how many of those hours is organized by young people themselves in our in part of our activities. And then I have one example filter here. We have the info. Through that we have the info what kind of different age categories participants we have in our actions. And of course, you can, for example, you can watch the data of your own youth center if we are using this our application, so you can see what kind of data it will give you in your own workplace. And the way we get that info is that every worker in our youth department, when they are organizing something, they put it in the system. That's the key point, that we have all the data in all our activities inside the same place. Then we can get some info about some, like here is the part of notes. You can write down what's happening there or what kind of activities you have organized. I'm sorry that these are not translated in English. Sorry for that, because mainly we write down things in English. But every activity is written down here. And if there is some phenomena or some special events or something like that, they give it a note in this system. So it's easier for us to recognize different kind of phenomena and react or develop our activities and processes. That's one part of it. Then we, like I said, there is also a part of maybe I show some example. Here is 4 different youth centers. We can also get info. We can compare it straight to the others. We can have, for example, monthly view of those units. We can put it quite easily in front of everyone's eyes. They can see how their work have developed over the year, how participants are gone, what kind of age groups are going, is some rising or some lowering, and we can allocate our resources depending on that data. But like Zolt said, it's not only the youth leader positions, not only the leader position workers are using that. It's the every level of our worker are using that. For example, they are using this data in their weekly meetings, and the upper the level you go, the maybe the longer the period. But the main point is that this is real time. When activity starts, they get the starting info. When activity stop, they are putting the end info there, so we can check it hourly or even by minutes if it's necessary, but mainly not. And I think that is the maybe one of the one of those topics that this makes this so good at developing work. But also we have questionnaires and surveys for young people who can give us some feedback and info, and we are all putting it together in this system. So when we have a survey or questionnaires, it is the data is gathered through this system of ours, and it gives us straight quality numbers, which gives us if we are doing the job right way, or is there something that we want to take a note and try to develop. And as you can see, it now there is I think there is data from, oh, maybe I changed this last year's. When we made the survey or doing things, there's different categories for questions, and they are putting it together on this data set. Sort of, and then we have comparing that now. It shows that last now I have the timeline here is the year of 2025, and now it shows me the change to 2024. So there is a, in these example units, there is a little rise, little some things are going downwards, and we can pick the things that we need to develop right from this data. And this is also real-time data. So if we are opening some survey or questionnaires, we can see responses right away. And also here is the whole city responses, and then different cities in Finland are also using our systems. And then there is a nationwide average, so we can see if we are going the right way or should we improve something, because other cities in the Finland which are using our system are a lot of forward ahead of us. And one point is that we have a worker self-assessment tool also, same kind of indicators here. And the main thing after that, that this web application of us puts these all data together, data for activities and self-assessment and surveys and questionnaires for youth, and it gives us a rate in different topics. How are we managing and how we are doing our job, how we are doing youth work in city of Oulu. And here we also have that nationwide average here. So it gives us something to take note and to keep on developing our work. Inclusion, equality, safety. There is also, it seems that it's a lot of lower self-assessment results as the major results. So if our employees are giving a much lower grade than the rest of the young people and the others, so maybe we should develop things a little bit more that it comes closer to this. So mainly that kind of data have been found here. Then I think I share a different. I have a slideshow, but let's see if I can share it also. Only a few slides, but we mainly use Teams, so because we have a little bit problems with Zoom, but here in a few sentences, maybe what I tried to say when I showed that there are what kind of data we have and what kind of data it gives us and visualize us, is that main thing it's web-based, easy to use, easy to go. You can have access to it anywhere. Every one of our youth department can go and check that data. And it put those results together and give us maybe a bigger view of those topics. Mainly what we have built in is the things that we have nationality needs of youth work. So all those data are that what we nationwide want to collect, what kind of data we want to collect. And because it's real time, it allows us to faster response phenomena or changes, like different age group is changing. We can move workers from another place to a different place, or if the other workers are more familiar working with a younger child, we can move those workers in the place where the age categories are getting lower, or etc. etc. And one big thing is that because other cities are also using it, we can compare our data with other quite same kind of cities that I have. So if we have some differences, I just check it that, okay, maybe Tampere have same kind of things here, they have same kind of phenomena, maybe we could cooperate and develop it together, and everything is like I said, in real time. And I showed a little bit of you for that quality assurance, so their self-assessment and questionnaire is also included in the same system, so we can combine the data together quite easily. And I think I still have one thing. So the main point was social data management, and I first showed you that we need to get the right info, and then we can think the ways how we use it. And then we have the thing called social data management. It's that we have now been systematically collected data 3 years after pilot years. So we have a background data that we can compare it and then analyze the changes. We can also see quite much changes inside of 1 year because it's real time. But also we can compare it maybe if you want to make bigger changes or plan the service structure, we can check back a few years for those activities and make some budget changes for that reason. And also it's not only use of our youth department, because we have built in quite and made a little bit effort for that. There have been made a quite usable API. If you know API, we can easily transfer this data we have to another place. For example, what we have done in locally is that we have that same real-time data is moving to our local political decision makers, and they have used that. They have all the info for our key figures, which is the main figures that they are making decisions, which reflects the youth work or our budget. They have all the access for those key figures all the time through API. The tool they are using it's Power BI. I just mentioned that we can combine different kind of data sources and use other applications to visualize the data. But the main thing is that we collect the right data, maybe analyze it a little bit, and we can send it forward. One thing I didn't mention yet is that we have also combined background data in this system of ours, is that in nationwide database, we have info about how many young people live in different areas inside our city, and we use the same API solution for that we move the data from national database to our background data, so we can see that we have a youth center over here, and we can easily see how much and what age of young people is living in that area. It also gives us something if we are developing our activities.
Marco, thank you. Let's I don't know if you wanted to say now something else, maybe in the questions and answers, because I see some questions here coming up for later. So I would say let's end it about now. Maybe one thing that I was wondering, and whether that you could explain, how do you collect these data? How do you make sure that youth are filling in these surveys?
Yeah, I think I said it quite fast there, but when we start some activity, event, or whatever is organized by a youth department, the worker are going to put it, it starts now here, it's put in the system, the activity starts, and then the young people can, we have iPads, for example, use it. Young people can come and take part of actively pushing that I'm participating this one here, I'm this age, and that kind of thing. Or our leaders, youth workers can collect that data by hand and putting it the system by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have data in all our activities, and it's have been part of our work in a couple of years. So it's quite automatic now.
Okay, that's important that you highlighted. Okay, Marco, thank you very much. Let's listen now to Herlen's case study. Okay, and then we can discuss, and people, Mar and Jenny will collect also the questions from the chat, and we will discuss those. Okay, Bram or Tom?
Yes, thank you. I will share my screen. Unfortunately, Tom had to leave at 11 because of an important assessment he had to make. So I will try to do his part of the presentation as well. You can see my screen right now, hopefully.
Not yet, but shortly, I hope.
Wait a moment, please. One moment. I have to do it again, like this. Share. Now it should be there.
Yeah, you only need to, yeah.
You see the whole screen right now, the whole slide?
Not the whole screen, we see the presenter's view.
Again.
So you should change it to...
Fortunately, like this.
Yeah, now it's perfect.
Okay, thank you. So I will do the entire presentation. I will do also Tom's part. Tom wanted to share something about the context Helen is in right now, and the social safe approach with which they started 3-4 years ago. So I will do that part as well. And then I will head on to the Pulse Twin project, which we just started right now. So the next 3.5 years, we will be working on the use cases on that. So I will elaborate a bit more on that later on. As I'm part of the Police Innovation Lab. I'm the project lead for Pulse Twin, and Tom is part of the MUA. So now I will do his part of the presentation. When we look at Heerlen, we have only almost 90,000 inhabitants. It's situated south of the Netherlands, near to Germany and Belgium. And we are a former mining city, which is important because when the mining closed in the 70s, that had a big impact on the region, and that is also what we see right now. Tom listed it, large difference between the south and the north part of Heerlen, and also the north part was the mining area in Heerlen. Due to the closing of the mining industry, livability in Heerlen and the social safe was getting less and less, and those problems are still now part of the city. So we see a low income and education level in Heerlen North, many health issues, safety issues, of course, and a high rate of loneliness. And that is why they started 3-4 years ago. They started the social safe approach, because what you see here, the red parts, of course, are the worst parts of the region. And Heerlen is in all the lists you don't want to be in. They are on top of it. So there was need to do something about it and do it on a different way than they did before. So they started the social safe approach. The social safe approach you can see over here. It's an integrated neighborhood approach of improving safety and livability. And I think the most important one is the second, the cooperation model. They do it with all the partners in the area, so the social workers, but also the police and the citizens itself. And they have a lot of principles and action logic and frontline steering, and that means that they are on the streets together with the citizens and try to improve that together with the citizens from outside to inside, you can say. And for this presentation, it's also important to mention that it is mainly data driven. So they started collecting all the data 3-4 years ago and try to make it visual and make decisions on that data also. So that is what we are working on in this project as well. So you can say the context and the organization part of the project is already done in the last few years. They have 2 weekly meetings with livability meetings with all the partners, and they have you can say the individual case meeting, which is about particular citizens with for instance mental health problems or drug related problems. So that organization is already set, and now we are going to work on that data and make that more effective for the frontline workers. Now, here you see some pictures of what they find in some of the buildings they enter. You see a lot of problems like this in Hele North, and I think this highlights why it is very important to start the Pulse Twin project, and of course the social safe approach they started 3-4 years ago. When you look at Pulse Twin, which stands for Proactive Urban Livability and Social Engine with Integrated Digital Twin, which is a mouthful. But what we are trying to do here is collecting all the data, which is the first bullet, go from fragmented data to integrated data, so we can make better informed decisions. I think this is also some sort of similarities with the presentation of Marco. So integrating data, get it together, and get some nice dashboards on it, so we can steer on that data and not just on gut feeling and things we think to see. And we want to go a step further in this project by using also artificial intelligence, which is maybe the second bullet. And we hope by using artificial intelligence to make better and faster decisions, and also go to some scenarios. So hopefully AI can help us get some scenarios, and then those scenarios will empower the frontline professional to make the decision. This is very important that the frontline professional will make that decision, so we won't go only on the AI powered data. And I think the last bullet is also a very important one. We want to build trust and ensure that the societal alignment by involving those citizens and professionals in the co-creation and testing. I think it is very important that mainly citizens understand why data is used and how those insights are generated, and also what safeguards exist, because of course we have also a lot of privacy issues which can be involved in those AI generated decisions. So we have to be very careful about that in the project. Later on, we'll tell a bit about how we try to tackle that. So those are the main goals we have for this project. As I said, we are just starting it right now, so we prioritize 10 use cases now to start prototyping and learn from what we get out of it. And as the project evolves, we hope we get more and more real data in, and so we go to a production situation. Let's call it like that. Now, we also talked about the digital twin. That is part of the project. Digital twins are getting more and more common right now. I think our digital twin will be a bit off to some other digital twins, and what you see here is a maturity level, what we're trying to reach in the next 3 years. I also made a quick how you say it, adjustment based on Zoll stories. There were a lot of similarities between Zoll stories and the things we try to do in this project. So I think most digital twins now are on the first 2 levels of this maturity level, which is more or less a static model. They can visualize the data as it is now or as it was in the future. We are trying to head for a prescriptive maturity level, which means, as I said, that we are using scenarios which will be the input for the professional workers to make their decision. And also most of the digital twins, I know at least, are about physical data. And now, of course, we are heading for the social data, which is also a bit off regarding to the most digital twins. So again, referring to Zoll stories, I think we are going for the embedded model. That is also why we are using use cases now to work on the prototypes. Try something, see if it works, see if it has value for the professional workers or the citizens. If it doesn't, we stop it. If it has, we work further on it. So, and like an agile work, we will do it in smart iterations. And also we are then in close contact with also the professionals and also the citizens. Citizens, we will involve in a citizens think along group, which will give their input on what we are building and what they're thinking of it in a broad sense of speaking. I think now I'm going really fast, but I think we're running out of time also. So I will highlight only the last slides a bit about the left part. What we are doing in the project, we have a lot of partners in the project. You can see right now we have 6-7 partners in the project involved. So we have all areas combined in it. For now, I think the most important to mention is the Bright Institute of Smart Services from the Maastricht University. They have an ELSA framework with which they're going to help us tackle all the privacy issues. So we know what to do in certain circumstances with the data. And so we don't make mistakes. So we are always safe using the data we want to use, or maybe we can't use data. That also can be an outcome in some way. So yeah, it's a big project. I think it's an ambitious project. That is also why I like it. And we need to do it as an ambitious project so we get further and do something different than we did last year, because the problems we need to tackle are severe. So yeah, hopefully we will manage to get some value out of this for the professionals and of course for the citizens of Heerlen, and hopefully also then for the citizens of Europe. That was my presentation.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very exciting project. Having this social digital twin for me was really mind-blowing and amazing. And I'm very curious to see how you're evolving with the questions that you mentioned or the risks that you mentioned, like this trust with citizens and privacy, data privacy. And yeah, so I think it will be a very exciting learning process, and I'm quite curious to see what's going to be the outcome of that. And yeah, and good luck with
thank you very much
with your project.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I guess we have questions, right? Jenny or Mar, you are the one responsible.
Actually, I think we had a really interesting question for Hulu, but actually I think it can be also applied to this other case that we have seen now. And actually it's data, in the case of Hulu, it's really representative of the youth people, no? So this idea at which point the data that you're able to get is representative of the reality.
Yeah, the data is based on, mainly the data is based on our activities and those young people who participate those activities. Of course, that quality part or those surveys and questionnaires, there also could be youth taking part which are not taking part of our activities. Did I answer it the right way, what you meant?
Yeah, and maybe from the other side, from the side of the twin, I imagine that one of the main challenges, no, we had the same discussions in Barcelona also now with digital twins, is where no, it's a data part. No, so it seems that we're always getting back to the data, no, and I think it's really interesting if you can refer a little bit on the representativity.
Yeah, I think indeed the most important of a digital twin is the data. I think Joel shared a nice overview of data in his presentation. I think that is mainly also the data we have in Heerlen. So we have a lot of sources of data. We now try to combine those sources. We also in the project we will try to get some more surveys in, as Ulo also has. So we have Heerlen has an app in which they are in contact with citizens. So also there we will try to collect more and more data, also from citizens, so you get a nice diverse set of data. We have a lot of the summary is we have a lot of sources of data which we will connect, and it varies a lot of what data it is. It is also open source of the Dutch Bureau of Statistics. It is about housing. It is about debts. So we have a lot of data available, but now it is very fragmented, and hopefully we can get it together, or I think we can get it together, and we make a nice view of all the data and the things we can do on it.
Thank you. I think we have taken all the questions that we already have. Maybe Zsolt, you have a last one for them. I think Margit, we still have 1 or 2 minutes.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I was wondering. One of the questions was a little bit framed towards Bram about this data privacy and building trust with citizens. But I know this is something which is going to happen in the future, so that's why it is an exciting question, which I think will remain unanswered. I was wondering, and going back to Oulu and to Marco, whether you are going to use, or whether you have thought of using somehow AI to collect or to evaluate, to evaluate all these data, or to put them together to make easier the evaluation of all these inputs that you get from all the many sources.
Yeah, we have thought of that, but we haven't done it yet. So I think when we have a few basic development things that we want to do first, and then we are going to at least piloting. It's one of our city's main areas of development in digital things, is that we can use AI more, and we also try to use it to analyze, like I showed you quickly, those notes that our workers are doing, the activities they organize, analyzing those texts, and also there's a lot of numbers, as you have seen, maybe also pointing the big changes or in over many years. It's easy to spot things when they change in 1 year, but maybe a longer timeline.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Okay, thank you very much. I think that was from my side.
Yeah, thank you very much, Zsolt. Thank you also to the speakers. Thank you, Bram and Marco, for all your insights and for sharing your expertise and the knowledge that you collected. I think it's very interesting, and we look forward to the guidebook that you will all together produce, also together with the other experts, so that we can even leverage more on all your experience and the really important lessons that you learned already and that you're also ready to share. So thanks a lot for that. And having said that, I just wanted to mention two last things. First of all, as we said in the beginning, we are here in workshops. We are still producing the guidebook. So if ever from the audience you have other things to share, maybe other examples that could also still be interesting to be included in a guidebook, please contact us, write it in the chat, or just send us an email, and we can explore whether we can include other examples as well. So we're open for that. And finally, give us a little feedback whether this was useful for you, whether you liked the webinar, and whether you learned something and could take something away from today. I just want to mention still to conclude that this was the third webinar of the series that the Knowledge Hub on Social Data Management has conceived. We will meet again in 3 weeks, so in February on the 19th, to conclude, to wrap up, and to draw the lessons from all the previous webinars and from the experience from the local level, and then sum up with the guidebook that we will present at the City Festival in Cyprus. I hope you join us in 3 weeks. I thank you again very much to the speakers and also to the audience for sharing your feedback, and hope to see you in February. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.